Hello. So today the lesson is still going to be talking about complaining in English. But today's practice is going to be more like speaking practice instead of just reading. I thought that what we could do, since I can't see you, you can't talk to me, face to face, what we'll do is we'll just I'll read them and talk you through what you can do. But what I'd like you to do is pause the video and think of a way and then say it out loud, the complaint in English. The first thing that we're gonna pretend that is happening is you ordered something online. Here, let me get my little pointer out. So you ordered something online. It says it was delivered, but you never got it. You call customer service. So this is, I'm sure you guys have had to do this before. So you look at the tracking on your phone and it says that it was delivered, right? Past tense, delivered. But it's not here. It's not at your door. You don't know where it is. So you call customer service. So what is it that you're going to say to them? Just think about that. And then, pause the video and try and say it out loud. I know it's kind of hard to say it when you're on your own, but I have the little list here that we talked about in the last lesson on how to put together what you need to say. So first off, start politely. Hi, my name is Allison. I'm wondering if you can help me. And then you make the request into a question, right? Instead of saying, you need to tell me where my package is, you say, I don't know where my package is, right? And you can explain, and the next part is explain the problem. So it says that it is delivered on my tracking, but it's not at my house, right? So you could do that. And then, so this part, don't blame the person you are working with. I don't always add that one unless it's like I'm angry about it. If I'm frustrated or upset, that's when I'm like, I know it's not your fault, that kind of thing. But this one is just kind of, you're calling because it's a question and you don't know where it is. So you're trying to get information. And so they tell you, oh, it's not here. It says it was delivered, but it's not there. We don't know what to do. You could say, well, I was expecting, to get my package at this day because I needed it for this. You can do that too if you want to, but these last two are what we would say optional, something that you don't have to do, you don't need to do, but it's something that you can do if you want to. So if you just did the first three, right, to complain, then that's good. You're doing good. All right, so the next one is your phone bill is more expensive than normal. So you call the phone company. This one is so annoying. I hate this one. So, one, start politely. Like, hi, how are you doing? I'm wondering if you can help me with this. Tell them what's happening. Be like, I have a more expensive phone bill. Can you explain to me why it's more money? And if they're like, oh, it's because of this, you could say, well, I thought that if I used this, it wasn't going to cost this much. So this one it's kind of hard when it's not really happening, right? But it's good to just kind of practice saying it, right? So starting politely, how are you doing? Make the request into a question. So, I need some help with my phone bill. I don't know why it's more expensive than normal, So, and again, you don't need to do these 4 and 5, but you can if you want to. So if you could just pause the video, pretend that you're talking to somebody on the phone about your phone bill. this one is also one that's really hard. So you receive a medical bill that is more expensive than you were expecting. So you call your health insurance. So this one is kind of hard because you think you would call the hospital, right? But for me, this is, everybody has their own experience. But for me, calling my health insurance first is helpful because sometimes my health insurance will say, we'll talk to the hospital. And we'll get this figured out. So sometimes I start there instead of having to call my health insurance and the hospital. But, you know, sometimes you do have to call the hospital. So you can pretend that you're talking to the hospital or, you know, whoever. So you receive your medical bill that is more expensive than you were expecting. So you call your health insurance. Maybe it's more expensive because they charged you more, or they charged you for something that you didn't know was that they did. Or something that they didn't do, right? Sometimes you get bills on, in the United States, you get bills, medical bills that say that they did something, and you're like, I didn't have that happen to me, so why am I having to pay for it, right? So again, this one is, you know, start politely, like, hey, I wonder if you can help me. You make the request into a question. So you say, I was charged a lot more than I was expecting, or they charged me more money than they told me, right? And I don't know why it is so much, right? I don't know how come, I don't know why, right? So you explain the problem. And then obviously, you know, don't blame the person you're working with. Just be like, this is really frustrating because I was not expecting to get this bill. I had budgeted, right? I had planned for a smaller bill, right? And then at the end, you can tell them your expectations, right? Like, um, you know, I'm hoping to have this figured out soon, right? It's whatever you want to, you know, you don't have to do that part, but you can if you want to. So with the medical bill, since it's more expensive, just practice, you know, saying that, you know, you could say it to somebody, like if you live with somebody, you can be like, hey, can you pretend to be the health insurance company? But yeah, just pause the video, practice saying, you know, what you would say to complain. And also with things like this, complaining is also you're kind of finding out information. It's important to like find out the information of why things are happening, but it's also good to let them know that it's not okay. You know what I mean? Because you know that you need help. Really, you're trying to let them know you need help. So your coworker always asks you to finish their work. Ugh. So you talk to them about it. So this one is more personal. It's not like you're calling somebody on the phone or talking to your supervisor. This is a coworker, right? So depending on if you think you're really good friends with them, right? Or if you maybe aren't super good friends with them, you want to talk to them about it because it's bothering you, right? So you need to complain to them. So even if they're your friend, I would do it in a formal way rather than an informal way. It just depends on what you want to do. So this one, start politely, right? So you'd say, hey, do you have a moment to talk to me about something? Can I talk to you about something? And then you can tell them, hey, would it be okay if you stopped asking me to finish your work at the end of the day? I need to finish my work. And then like you can explain to them and say, you know, I don't have time to finish my work. It's causing problems. And then for this one, you know, don't blame the person you're working with. That one doesn't really apply because it's the person that you're talking to that's doing it, right? So you don't need to say, you know, I don't blame you. But instead of saying, you know, I don't blame you, you could say, hey, I understand that you're really busy and you are stressed right now, right? So like that, you could say, you know, I understand, but also I need to be able to worry about my work, right? So that's how you kind of complain to them, right? So just try and like take a minute to practice saying out loud, you know, how you would complain about this. Or maybe you choose to do it in a really different way. Maybe you're like, I don't need to be polite about this. I can just tell it to their face and say, I'm not going to do your work anymore. You need to do it. Just depends on what you think is good or appropriate or right. So the next one, your brother always asks you for money. You talk to your friend about it. So this one's a little different because I figured that we could practice doing informal too, informal complaining. Sometimes your family does stuff and you are like, I don't want to make them feel bad, so I'm not going to talk to them about it. So you talk to your friends about it, right? So for informal, it's kind of the same as a formal one, right? You have to explain what is happening. But when you're doing an informal one, it's okay to just tell people how you feel, right? To just be like, it makes me so frustrated. I am so angry. I don't understand. You can do those things. So, you know, do the complaint like you're talking to your friend, right? Not to your brother, but to your friend. So the next one, your power is out. So you call the power company to let them know. Now this one's kind of hard because you don't want to complain because you don't want to be like, oh, the power is out. Why is it out? Because the power company probably doesn't know that it's out, or maybe they do and they're doing what they can. So being like, you need to turn it on right now isn't really helpful, but you can get information from them that will help you. So you start politely, hey, I'm wondering if you can help me. My power is out. I don't have any power. And if they say, you know, well, we know it's out, it'll, you know, we're working on it right now. So you could say, hey, I am really cold in my house because my furnace isn't turning on or my heater isn't turning on. You know, that's really important. So you could say, you know, I'm really cold, my heater is off. Do you know when the power will be turned back on? So like they should be able to tell you. So this one's kind of hard because you're complaining, but you're also just trying to get information from them, right? You just want to know what's going on. Okay, so this one's really hard for me. I have a hard time talking to people about problems that I'm having. So your neighbor has loud parties late at night. No, that's hard for you guys because you guys wake up so early and to be at work. So somebody having a party that doesn't really seem that late, right? Like 10 o'clock to a lot of people isn't super late. But to you guys, it's really late because you guys wake up so early. So your neighbor has loud parties late at night. You need your sleep, right? You shouldn't, you know, have to be tired all the time because they're having parties, right? So you see them outside and you go and talk to them. So what would you say? Like, what would you talk to them about? Well, you know, you can start politely, right? How are you doing? Hey, what's going on in your life, right? How is it going? And then you can make the request a question and be like, hey, do you think you could help me out? I get really tired. I go to work really early. Your music and your parties are really loud when I'm trying to sleep and it wakes me up. Could you help me out by not having parties so late or making sure they're really quiet? And you know, so you ask them, you know, instead of telling them you need to be more quiet, you say, you know, can you be more quiet? Can you help me? And then you explain the problem. You know, I work really early, it wakes me up, I get really tired, I really need to be able to sleep. And then if you tell them your expectations, that's after the conversation. If they said, oh yeah, I'll keep it down, you can just say, okay, you know, I'll let you know if, you know, if it starts getting too loud, right? Or if the parties are going on a little too much. So, you know, but you, again, you can do it however you want to. If you are a We call this blunt in English. If you're a blunt person, it means that you get straight to the point and you don't mess around with any of this like polite stuff, right? You just say, hey, your parties are too loud. I need to sleep. Don't have the parties or be really quiet. And that's what you would say if you were like what we call a blunt person, right? So if you're blunt, if you're straightforward, another term that we use that's kind of weird is beat around the bush. Beat around the bush. So somebody says, oh, they don't beat around the bush. It means that they're blunt, that they are straightforward when they talk to you. They don't try and be polite. They don't try, and it doesn't mean that they are mean. It just means that they tell you what they think when they think it. That's just how it is. So yeah, so you can do it however you want to, but just practice, speaking it, right? Okay, so this one happens all the time. At least it used to happen to me. Your supervisor forgot you asked for time off. Ugh, and scheduled you to come in. You talk to them before you leave work. So this one's hard because if your supervisor made a mistake, people forget things all the time, right? But you still need that time off, right? You took that time off, you still need it off, but you're scheduled to come in now and it's too late to request it off, right? To say, hey, so how do you complain about this? Now this one will change depending on what you need. Starting politely, you go to them, you say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Is it okay if I talk to you for a minute? Are you busy right now? I need to talk to you. And then you make the request in a question. Is there any way I can have the time off that I asked for? Right? So you're asking them and you're going to explain the problem and say, I know that you forgot. Everybody makes mistakes, but I still need the time off. So when you say, I still need that time off, when we use the word like still like that, I still need, it means that the situation hasn't changed. Even though they forgot and they scheduled you, you still need, right? You need that time off. So you're just letting them know, hey, I really do need that time off because I had something going on, right? And then you can let them know, instead of saying, don't blame the person, since it was them that forgot, you could say, everybody forgets sometimes. I get it. I still need this time off. And that's it for today on the speaking practice. So just try, take some time today and just practice complaining, right? Think about a situation, or maybe something will happen today and you can practice complaining. But after each of those videos, just take a moment to stop, pause the video, and practice speaking on your own and saying, okay, would I complain about this? So that's it for today.